Hey there, and welcome back to Temporary Locals.
I'm Jared.
And I'm Megan. This week we are taking you to Maui, Hawaii. But first, if you're new here, Jared and I are a travel loving couple sharing our real stories and experiences from places that we've actually been. And occasionally we'll have guests on to talk about places that are still on our bucket list. So whether you're planning your next trip or you're just here for the storytelling, you are in the right place, and would love to have you. We'd love it if you'd subscribe and join us for the ride. We put out episodes every week.
That's right, usually.
Yeah. And typically before we get into like the bulk of our episode, we'll go over kind of like a current event. So the big one in the news this week is Spirit Airlines. It's no longer.
Yes. Spirit Airlines is now a spirit themselves, taken to the skies for the last time, or forever, depending on how you look at it.
Did you see what I tagged you in?
Mm-mm.
That someone made a meme of the Spirit Airlines plane?
Spirit Halloween.
Yes.
Yeah, I did see that. Yeah, I've seen different things about it, depending on like what news outlet, you kind of subscribe to, but I think there was some like politics involved, but just in general, I mean, I think the rising cost of fuel probably doesn't help.
It's been a while that Spirit has kind of like been like dangling that, dangling that, like, oh, we're, I think they filed for bankruptcy or something like that.
Yeah, they did, but they were gonna merge with JetBlue.
Okay, that's interesting because I saw an article about talking about JetBlue and how like in Fort Lauderdale they were giving, I don't know if it was discounted tickets or what, to people who had a valid Spirit flight that was like canceled, because we didn't really say this, but Spirit just kind of like shut down
Yeah,
at a point in day, and like there were people that were like getting ready, like they had flights planned or they were already at the airport and they're just stuck because
right.
there's no more Spirit planes taking off.
Yeah. Yeah, I think other airlines hopefully kind of coordinated to help those people get home or to get wherever they need to go, but yeah, I think from what I understand about it, JetBlue was going to acquire Spirit and they were gonna merge, but it was that was blocked because of like a monopoly for whatever reason, and so I guess, yeah, Spirit ended up going under. And everybody kind of jokes about Spirit, but they were, I think, considered the safest airline, at least in the US. There was never any issues. I mean, it was a budget airline, right? So I mean, they kind of nickeled and dimed you for everything else, but and the customer service wasn't always, I guess, top notch. But I mean, we've flown Spirit, we've had good and bad kind of experiences with them. I mean, it's a budget airline, so I mean, you get what you get. But I think for a lot of people, it made flying a more accessible, and so I don't know if other airlines are going to kind of jump on, they may try to jump on that and kind of help acquire some of that customer base, or if flying is just going to be harder for certain people. I mean, there are other budget airlines. I guess Frontier is probably going to pick up a lot of that. But yeah, it's unfortunate, because like I said, I think companies like Spirit really made flying accessible to a lot more people. And flying, I think, used to be like considered very luxurious. It used to be a luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And, nowadays, because of like more budget airlines, I think more people have access to flying, and it's for more of like the common person.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. So that was interesting that maybe I knew, I can't remember, but, or you refresh my memory that JetBlue was going to merge with Spirit, because they seemed like they kind of had a contingency plan. But at the same time, it also seems like it was like not planned well, because you'd think that you'd at least try to like communicate out like, hey, on this date, we're going to no longer have flights, and like people could make other arrangements or what, because I
yeah.
wonder if they did give refunds, because a lot of times when you're booking, you have like the option to get like the travel insurance or whatever.
Hmm.
And I don't know. Feel like they could probably have a leg to stand on to be like, no, we're not going to refund you, but we're also not going to fly you.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably one of those things where it's like pulling off a band-aid. They just had to set a date and kind of do it. I'm more thinking about like all the employees and all the logistics that go into running a company like that, and like the flight staff, the pilots, the baggage people, the customer service people, all those thousands of employees around the country that are affected by this, and it's like, did they let them know?
Yeah, that's actually probably a good point. Because, like, if I knew, like, in a week that my company's no longer going to exist, I probably wouldn't go to work.
Yeah. Yeah, we have things like the WARN Act, WARN, which prohibits a company from just up and like laying off all their employees. I mean, they have to give them a certain day's notice. I think it's like 60 days. So, I mean companies have faced like lawsuits and things like that. So, I mean, who knows like how it went down, but you would think that the employees would have had an idea that the company was going under. So, how that didn't make it to like the public is kind of surprising to me that it was kind of just like that.
Yeah.
So,
I saw a video and it was a Spirit Airlines pilot that was like going to retire.
yep.
Did you see that one
Mhm.
too? And he ended up on a Southwest flight with
Yep.
like where his son was flying the plane, but he was a passenger. And so they flew him to like Baltimore and had like a welcome
Mm.
back for him. But yeah, what a it's like I was already on my way out. You couldn't let me do my one last flight.
Yeah, well, and I saw a video of the final Spirit flight landing, and it was like and I think I even said to you, like, how cool would that be to know that you were on I mean, it's unfortunate, obviously, but to kinda know that you'd be on the last Spirit flight ever.
Yeah.
You could say, like, "Yeah, that company from back in the day, Spirit, like, I was on their last flight."
Yeah.
That's that's kind of a cool thing to be able to say, but, I mean, you and we've talked about Spirit on this podcast, and we've not always had the best things to say about Spirit, but overall, it's like I said, is a budget airline, so you get what you get, but I mean,
Yeah. Yeah, we also talked about how bad it probably sucked to be the person that was supposed to be on the next Spirit airline flight that never took off and will never take off.
yeah,
So we were just kind of thanking our lucky stars that we didn't book our upcoming trip to Moab with Spirit because that'd be an unexpected
yeah,
cost that we'd have to take on like quickly.
yeah, and I'm not as concerned about the pilots. I think the pilots will be acquired by other airlines because again, Spirit has a really good flight record. I think their pilots were pretty top notch, even when other aspects of the company may not have been up to par with some of the bigger airlines, but I think the pilots will probably just go to other airlines.
Yeah, well, and part of that JetBlue announcement was it was something like they're increasing their flights this summer by like 75% by just offering more routes. And I don't know if it's just specifically out of Fort Lauderdale, but that's the airport that they were talking about. But offering more routes and more planes, I guess, more for their existing routes. They're like offering more flight options for those existing routes and then also adding new routes. So,
Mhm. Yeah,
you know. I wonder if a bulk of the Spirit pilots might go to JetBlue, if
yeah,
not already.
yeah. So I guess that's the biggest like travel news that's kind of trending at the moment.
Yeah.
And because it kind of happened out of nowhere, it was like all over social media and the news. And I guess we felt it important to talk about.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
yeah.
All right, well, let's get into Maui.
Yeah. Today I'm going to take everybody to Maui, Hawaii, specifically Maui, that island. Before we get started, though, we did do something really cool yesterday that I think kind of is in the vibe of this episode. So let me show you quick. Hold on. So, with the spirit of this episode, Hawaii.
If for whatever reason you couldn't hear Jared because he was too far from the microphone, I got this kit for Christmas from Jared's mom for hand molding. And we just randomly decided to do it yesterday, and we did some shaka bras, and yeah, they turned out pretty good. Except for some of our fingers are cut off, but that's fine.
Yeah, we were trying to figure out like what hand gesture we wanted to do because it shows, a child's hand and a woman's hand or a couple holding hands. We were like, that's kind of lame. And then we were like, should we do middle fingers? And we're like, that's also kind of lame. And then it was like, oh, we're doing an episode on Hawaii tomorrow. Let's do shaka bras. Cause that's my go-to hand thing. Cause in photos and stuff, I'm like Ricky Bobby. I'm like, I don't know what to do with my hands. Like every time somebody takes a picture of me, no matter how cool the picture is, like whatever's behind me, I'm just standing there with my arms down and I feel awkward. So it's like, if you ever wonder why I always do shaka bra in like every photo of myself, it's because I just, that's my
Just because I'm
go-to.
awkward.
Yeah. 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 I don't know what else to do with my hands. So yeah. So that was fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Well,
Well, it wasn't fun. I actually hated it.
he hated it. The whole time he was like, ugh.
I
He was like,
thought,
how long are we going to have to sit there like this? We had the bucket on the floor and our hands down in the bucket, and we're like trying to like look up and watch UFC. My neck was like And you're like, "How much longer?" And I'm, like, tapping the top of it, and I'm like, "It's still liquid."
Yeah, I know. I thought it was gonna be more instantaneous, I guess.
Yeah.
I was like, "Oh, we'll put our hands in there, and then we'll pull them out, and it'll make a mold of our hands." I didn't realize we had to sit with our hands in there for what seemed like an eternity.
It was, like, 15
It
minutes.
was so long, and it was cold, and I was just like yeah, and I missed UFC because it was in Perth, Australia, and I wasn't thinking, and I woke up in the morning, and I even said to you, I was like, "Ooh, we got a UFC tonight, Paramount Plus," and then I realized that, like, oh, it was at, like, 7 a.m., like, we missed it because 'cause they're on the other side of the world, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Alright. So this time we promise we're actually getting into Maui.
Yeah. Yeah, this was a really cool trip. This is a trip I took years ago, and it was actually during COVID. It was in the throes of the pandemic. And so a lot of places were shut down, but you could still travel. And this was before, like, I think heavy travel restrictions really went into effect. This was, I guess, kind of early on, but it was still like in the midst of the pandemic. And one of the reasons that we decided to go to Hawaii was because we normally leave the country every year. We normally do an international trip every year, at least one. And international travel at this time was like kind of harder to do because of the pandemic. A lot of countries were hard to get into because of the pandemic and everything going on with COVID at the times. I think our thinking was like, where can we go that's super far away, that's the most exotic place you could go to, that's still considered domestic, that's still within the states. And so that was Hawaii. So we decided to go to Hawaii. And the amount of stuff that but it was still like not easy to do at the time, because it is like an island and everything. It was like all this stuff, all the processes we had to go through just to go to Hawaii during the pandemic was like a whole thing in itself. And I could probably do a whole episode just on that, just like traveling to Hawaii during the pandemic and all the things that led up to it and all the things we had to like do in order to go, which is kind of funny because like once we got there, it's like Hawaii itself didn't actually care. It was like just the government in general, like, required you to do all these things to get there, but once you're there, it's like they're like, "We don't take the mask off, like, we don't care," you know? It just didn't seem like they were as concerned once you actually got there. So but to go, uh, we had to obviously do a COVID test, and the COVID test, you had, like, a certain window of time that you had to do it, and it had to be so many hours before you leave, but you had to get the results back so many hours before you left. Like, you couldn't do it too early, but if you didn't get the results back in time, your trip and all the money you put into it would have been for nothing. So it was kind of nerve wracking at the time. And that's just like how they kind of required it. So, and to do the test, I remember we had to go to a CVS and we actually sat in the drive through and had to do the test ourselves. Now, I have no medical training. So I'm sitting here trying to do this test. They give you a giant Q-tip that you have to shove up your nose, like deep up your nose and like swirl around to do the test. And I just remember thinking like, what if I don't do it right? What if, you get a false positive because that was happening at the time. And it's like, or if you don't get the test back in time for you to leave because you had to get it before you left. And but you could only do it a couple of days before. But like we're just thinking like, man, if we don't get these tests back or if they come back negative or positive, I guess we're screwed. So that was kind of nerve-wracking sitting in a drive-through doing this COVID test myself and then handing it to the lady and being like, I don't know. We'll see, I guess.
How long did it take to get the results back?
I think it was 48 hours and you had to do it like 48 hours before. So
Yeah.
got it. We got the results back just in time, but it was nerve wracking at the time. So we decided to go to Maui. All the Hawaiian Islands, it's all Hawaii, but they're all kind of different and they all kind of have like a different vibe. But I think Maui was like one that we really chose just because it had a lot to do, a lot of different things to do. Yeah, and it was it was the one I think that we kind of nailed down as like this is the one that interests us the most. I mean, obviously all of them are beautiful. They all have their like really cool things about them, but Maui was like the one that we were like that has the most for us that like we would want to do. So we chose to go to Maui.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one of the most popular islands?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're all kind of popular. I mean, Oahu's really big in, like, surfing culture. Now, surfing's obviously huge in Hawaii. I mean, it was invented by Pacific Islanders. So, surfing's big everywhere, but I think Oahu is, like, the capital of,
Mm.
like, surfing culture, like, the North Shore, they call it. Um, and, you know, then there's the main island of Hawaii, and, like, Honolulu's the capital, obviously, of all of Hawaii, so that's really popular, a lot of people go there. But Maui is popular, a lot of people travel there, but there's areas of it that are, like, still very off the beaten path, I guess you could say. It's one of the larger islands, so it's big and there's a lot to do and a lot to see, so
This might be a dumb question, but I've never been to Hawaii. Does each island have their own airport, or is there just like one main airport and then you get to the other islands by boat?
I think every island has at least a airport, definitely the main islands, but yeah, so,
Okay.
um,
So how did you flew into Maui then?
yes, yeah, we flew into Maui, and getting off the plane at the airport, it's like everybody's wearing leis, and it's very like what you see in the movies and everything. Again, it was during the pandemic. And another thing that we had to do before we went is like download this app that we had to have on our phone when we entered the country. It was like a COVID app. We had to have our test results with us, like all these things that we had to do before even landing. And then once we got there, it's like nobody asked to check to see if we had that app on our phone. Nobody checked to see. I'm sure they did check our like actual test results, but once we like got through the airport and actually got, into Hawaii, it was like no one cared, no one asked anything. No one was really wearing masks. I mean, we had them just in case we needed them, but no one was it was pretty chill, and, yeah, I guess some people may look at that as being kinda, like, irresponsible flying to an island during the pandemic, but, again, we wanted to go somewhere that was, like, the most like going on an international trip, but was still considered like a domestic
Mm.
trip, and to kinda go with that point, going to Hawaii the first time was like the first time I went to Key West where I landed, and even more so to this point is like when we landed in Hawaii, I remember looking around and just being like, "This isn't the US." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
'Cause that's how I felt the first time I went to Key West. I remember going to Key West and being like, "This is the Bahamas. This isn't
Yeah.
You're so far away from the mainland, you're closer to Cuba. Like, you're in the Bahamas. This is not the US." And I felt that even more so landing in Hawaii because you're further away than Europe. And just not even just distance-wise, but, like, culturally. Most people on the islands over there, they don't consider themselves American either. So, like, culturally and visually, you're looking around, you're like, "This is not the United States."
Mhm.
So, borders are weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So, we didn't stay on, like, any sort of resort or anything. We got a place, I guess it was probably an Airbnb or something of the sort in, Kihei, and that's where we wanted to stay. It was kind of a chill, laid back town. It's not a lot of people will know what Kihei is and where it is. It's not, like, super far off the beaten path or anything. People go there. It's semi-touristy, but it's not like some big touristy resort. It's a regular town. A lot of locals live there. It's a regular town, you know? It was cool to be there, and the first day we got there in the evening, and by the time we got to our place, now our place was on, like, a street, just like a regular street, but right around the corner from that street and right, like, in front was the beach. So we weren't on the beach, but we were, like, a 3-minute walk from the beach. Like, we literally you'd go out of our place, make a right, and the beach is right there. You'd go around the corner, and there's the beach. So it was like, you know, 100 yards away or something. So the first day we got there, we dropped our bags and we could see that the sun was setting. So we were like, "Ooh, let's hit the beach quick for the sunset." So we went out and walked the beach and kind of checked out the sunset. And there was other people that were out there like taking photos of the sunset. And to this day, like one of the best sunsets I've ever seen. I mean, this is within the first, half hour or hour of us being in Hawaii. It's like I'm watching a Hawaiian sunset and there's the palm trees and the beautiful ocean, and it was amazing. It was a real good way to like start the trip of like, oh, this is what it's gonna be like, you know?
Yeah.
So so yeah, being like really close to the beach was cool. That first morning that we woke up, our first full day in Hawaii, we hit the beach before sunrise. I don't remember like I guess because the time difference, it was like I was just up super early. So at like 5 a.m. we hit the beach and it was still dark. It was like just, the sun was just starting to like kind of come up over the horizon, but it was still pretty dark, so we got headlamps on and we started walking the beach. And as we're walking the beach, we didn't walk super far down, but as we're walking down the beach, I remember seeing these like big, what I thought were boulders on the beach. There's like boulders. And I thought, oh, that's cool. There's like rocks on the beach, you know? And as we got up closer to the beach, as we got up closer to the boulders that we were seeing, we got up close to them and like almost stepped on them and realized that they're not boulders. These were giant sea turtles
Oh my gosh.
right on the beach.
Just chilling.
And not one or two. Like, I think there was like 9 or 10 of them
Wow.
just all over the beach. And this is the first time I had ever seen a like Pacific, Hawaiian sea turtle.
Mm.
They're massive. They look like we thought they were boulders, like giant
Yeah.
rocks on the beach. And so they're just massive. They weigh like 1,000 pounds. Like they're
Yeah.
huge. And so I guess the turtles probably come onto the beach during the night to kind of chill and relax and then go back into the water as the beach starts to get busier and people are coming out on the beach. They, I think, kind of retreat back because going out onto the beach during the day, we would never see them. So I think we weren't aware of it at the time, but just going out that early, we were able to kind of see them. And so we were kind of lucky in that like regard. But it
Yeah, what a
was,
cool experience.
yeah, it was really cool. And that was the first morning. It's like we're like, oh, let's walk. We thought we were just gonna like walk the beach and it would be nice and everything, but no, we like stumbled upon these like giant turtles just on the beach.
Yeah, and I know they're gigantic. When I was in Cayman Islands, they had like a turtle farm you could go to, so it's not like seeing turtles in the wild, but they had like different pools with different turtle ages. So like there's sea turtles in different pools from like little tiny babies that you could hold in your hand
Mhm.
to, ones that are like this size to like gigantic ones that are like you can just tell like that's that's a thick turtle.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I can't imagine seeing one of the big ones just like chilling on the beach.
Yeah.
That's cool.
It was cool. And it was yeah, it was just like a nice surprise. Like, oh shit, like I didn't realize that they would come up on the beach like that and you could just like see them like that and kind of
Mhm.
walk amongst them. And we didn't mess with them at all or get too close to them, but I did get like a photo of me like 5 feet from one and just to also get like the scale and the size of it so you could tell how big they are. So we'll post that photo. And I got other photos of them just on the beach. But because it was like so early in the morning and the sun wasn't really up, the photos aren't like the best photos or anything, but
Mhm.
like it's just a cool photo of me like standing there on the beach next to this giant turtle. And it's all, they're wild, so it was kind of cool.
Yeah.
A lot of people I don't think get that close to them in the wild, so
Yeah.
um and those turtles will come into play later too. I mean, we had more experiences with them, so one of the main things that a lot of people do on Maui and one of the things that I wanted to do even though it is like I don't want to say touristy, but it's like a more popular thing to do is the road to Hana. And the road to Hana is a route that you can take around the island of Maui. And it goes from wherever you're starting at to, and it ends at the town of Hana. Yeah.
Road to
So,
Hana.
yeah. So it's a 64-mile loop around the island and it's very treacherous. That's the best like way I can describe it. It's like one of the most dangerous roads in the United States. It's treacherous because a lot of the roads are single lane roads and you're up in the mountains and like cars are coming this way and you're going this way and you have to try to move over and so you're hanging off of cliffs and things like that. So it's a very dangerous drive, but like the views you get are just some of the most scenic things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, you're just imagine you're driving around like a Hawaiian island and you're up in the mountains and you're overlooking the coastline and there's waterfalls everywhere. Like I've never seen so many waterfalls in my life. And like waterfalls anywhere else, it's like a really popular tourist place. You'll see people all the time, but like there's so many waterfalls there that it's like they're just everywhere. So they're not even like that popular. There's like there's the big ones that are popular, but there's just so many waterfalls there. So you'll just be driving along and you'll see the beautiful coastline and the beautiful lush, jungle, and then there'll be just waterfalls everywhere and it's really cool. It's one of the most beautiful drives you could ever take, and it's definitely one of the most beautiful drives in the United States. I mean, we've talked about like scenic drives before. We talk about, the drive down to the Keys and some of the other like trips that we've taken, but the road to Hana is so popular because of how beautiful it is. It's a good way to see the island too, to kind of get out of where you're staying in Maui and kind of see more of the island. So it takes a number of hours. I mean, depending on how much you stop, because there's all different places you can stop along the way. It could take anywhere from just a couple hours to 4 or 5 hours.
Mhm.
But some of the things that we saw, and also in this episode, there's more so than probably anywhere else that we've done in the world. It's going to be hard for me to pronounce certain things because, like,
We do our best.
yeah, we do our best, but I mean, some of the words are just hard to pronounce. So I'm going to do my best or just not pronounce them at all and just kind of describe what I'm talking about. One of the state parks is a national park we visited had a black sand beach, and that had been my first time ever visiting a black sand beach. And so it's from all the volcanic ash and everything, but it's like
Is it fine sand or coarse?
kind of coarse, I think. Yeah. But yeah, it's really cool when you see it. Like when you look out onto the black sand beach, it doesn't look as dark, I think. But when you get up to it and you kind of really look at it, it looks like you're putting your hand in like anthracite coal. Like it's very dark. And
Mhm.
I have a picture of me kneeling down with like a with handfuls of black sand. So, but that was in a park that the name I'm not even going to try to pronounce. But if you look up Black Sand Beach in Maui, it'll be. I mean, there's a few different ones, but you'll see it. Like I said, there's all kinds of waterfalls we visited. You just kind of stop on the side of the road, you pull off, you look at the waterfall. Some of them you can actually go down to and like get in the waterfall. So that's really cool to do. It's really refreshing. I think when we were doing the road to Hana, it actually started raining while we were doing it. So we were like out in the rain, but it's a nice rain, it's a tropical rain. And so we swam some in some of the waterfalls and stuff as we were going along. And I got some cool GoPro footage of this trip. We also did lava caves. I think that was at the end. So we did the whole trip, went to the black sand beach, visited all the waterfalls along the way. There's also a bunch of shacks along the way. Some are more popular than others, but we stopped at this one like tiny little, it was just like a little shack on the side of the road in the mountains and got banana bread. They have banana bread all throughout the road to Hana, and you can get this like homemade banana bread, and it's so good. And this little Hawaiian lady was working there, so that was kind of cool. So you get to interact a lot with locals too. And yeah, once we got to Hana, we explored some cave systems that they have there, and you kind of go in and you can walk around the caves, and it was really cool.
That is cool. Did the rain while you were on the road, like you said, you described it as like a good rain. My eyes got big because I was like, oh, you're on this dangerous road. And then add on top of it that it's raining.
Yeah, it's sketchy, and certain like stretches of the road, certain sections are like it's dirt. It's a dirt road, so
Mhm.
yeah, it can be sketchy. And like I said, you'll be going this way. And I know anybody that's ever driven in like South America, a lot of roads are like this where like you'll be driving this way and then there's a tanker truck coming towards you and you have to try to get over and you're on the side of a cliff. It's very much like that. But it's kind of like that's kind of the appeal to it too, because there is a bit of danger involved, so it feels more adventurous in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the road to Hana. And it's one of those things that you go to Maui, it's like you kind of have to do it. Again, it helps you kind of get out of wherever you're staying in Maui and seeing more of the island in just a few hours.
Yeah.
So, one of the coolest road trips I've taken for sure.
So you guys rented a car?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, we were all over Maui. But kind of like when we were in Peru, and we've talked about this, how we went all over, kind of did all kinds of things around Peru, but we spent a lot of time also in Cusco, and that's kind of how Kihei was. It was like really cool little town in Maui, and so we spent a lot of time there too. And I didn't mention this, but we also took the longboards this time. And so this was my first time ever flying with the longboards. And so I literally lugged this bag, this giant bag, which is actually for like a surfboard, but we shoved our longboards in it and I lugged this bag across the world, all the way to Hawaii. But we wanted to longboard in Hawaii because I thought what a cool place to like longboard.
Yeah.
Um, Not really realizing that a lot of the roads there aren't the best, but it was still fun to do. So we longboarded all over Kihei. There were days where we wouldn't even really leave Kihei. We would just kind of hang out there and explore the town, and we would longboard around town and stuff. And we'd go down and get coffee. There was a coffee truck we really liked in Kihei called Kraken Coffee. And they had like a Kraken logo. So that was like our go-to coffee spot in the morning. We'd longboard down, get coffee, and then like longboard around town. It was really cool. Yeah, and another thing that like I want to point out is that like pretty substantial, I'd say. I mean, maybe not compared to like bigger cities here in the mainland, but there's a pretty substantial like homeless population in Hawaii, or at least in Maui. And in Kihei, where we were staying, there was like groups of homeless people, and they would just like have camps in the woods. Like you'd just be walking down the street, and they would like pop out behind you from the woods and scare you. But they would have like
On purpose?
no, they would just
Oh,
be like, you wouldn't realize that people are living in the woods, and
yeah.
you'd be walking, and then like somebody would pop out of the woods behind you, and you'd be like, and then you'd look and you'd see that they have like these camps set up in the woods, and they'd have like just 20 shopping carts in there, like they'd take these shopping carts and have them in the woods. That's how
Yeah.
it was, at least when I was there. So I noticed that. I think homelessness is a problem in Hawaii specifically because it's if you become homeless in Hawaii for whatever reason that may be, it's hard to leave.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't leave, right? You're on a remote island in the middle of the Pacific. Flights out of you can't get a ride anywhere. You can't take a bus. Flights are expensive. So a lot of people that become homeless in Hawaii, they just stay homeless. But also, I mean, there's no real better place to be homeless in my opinion. I mean, being homeless is unfortunate, but if I was gonna be homeless, it would be somewhere like that.
Yeah. My dad always says, like, if I was, like, homeless in Detroit, the first thing that I would do is start, like, collecting cans to get the 10-cent, return, save up some money, get a bus ticket, and go to Key West.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, why would you like if you're homeless anyway, like why be homeless in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Like if I'm gonna be homeless, I'm gonna be on a beach somewhere, you know? Um, yeah, it's like you can go anywhere. Like, what are you doing? Like, just,
Wow.
you
Yeah,
know.
maybe.
But yeah, I mean, getting to Hawaii would be you couldn't do if you were homeless, but like that's why I assume that most of the people that are homeless in Hawaii, it's for like actual like economic reasons and things. I mean, Hawaii is obviously very expensive to live there, but a lot of the people that are homeless there, it's like they probably became homeless after already being there, or they're from there. So, but that's just like an interesting thing because it's Hawaii's very beautiful. It's very picturesque. It's paradise, but you do see homeless people and you do see certain areas of Hawaii are very dirty. You see like trash in certain areas and things. Maybe not on like the nice resort areas where people typically stay, but if you like go to like a real town like Kihei, it's like you're gonna see trash on the road. You're gonna see, you know, certain things that you'd see in any large city, but it's like it's just kind of odd to see that in Hawaii where it's considered paradise and also the people, the local population, care so deeply about where they live and where they come from and everything. It's
Yeah.
like it's kind of jarring to see it sometimes, but you have to remember that it's just like any other place and, it's flawed like any other place. It's not perfect.
Yeah. Remember, we were kind of shocked seeing in Peru and Cusco, there was like piles and piles of trash in some
Mhm.
areas, and it was like, huh, that's interesting.
Yeah. I think that makes a little more sense though because it is South America, and despite it being obviously extremely beautiful, it's like it is considered a developing country, but Hawaii is like again very expensive, and you see that stuff. But I mean, you see that in a place like LA. I mean, LA is like known for being this like, the home of luxury and opulence and Hollywood and the stars and and
Mhm.
LA is very beautiful and everything, but you see a lot of homeless, you see a lot of trash, you see a lot of tents and things like that, and it's a real it's a dichotomy in that way, and I think
Mhm.
Hawaii is a lot like that, you know?
Yeah.
So but, the people of Hawaii are different because they're very proud of where they come from, and for good reason. You hear people that have different experiences there. Some people say that, like, the locals are not friendly to foreigners, people from the mainland, and they're very protective of where they live and where they come from and kind of their history. And then you hear other people say that like, no, Hawaiians are very like welcoming and everything. I felt very welcomed. I didn't experience any negativity or anything. You can tell they're very proud of where they come from and they're very passionate about it and they want people to respect it, but they are very welcoming and they're very nice to people and they realize that a lot of their economy is, based on people visiting. So I think a lot of them they welcome people to come and travel as long as you're being respectful and you're, genuinely like interested in their culture and things like that. So I don't have enough good things to say about Hawaii or the Hawaiian people. I think it's an awesome culture. And like I said, I think a lot of people like going to Hawaii, not just because it's beautiful, because you can go to Florida, and not saying like it's as beautiful or as nice or anything, but you can go to other nice places in the mainland of the United States. But Hawaii has such a unique culture that's so different than the rest of the United States, and it's like it really is like its own country in that way. So I think a lot of people travel to Hawaii because even though it is still within the quote unquote United States, it is like you're traveling somewhere truly exotic and that's international.
Mm.
So yeah. Uh, Another thing that we did, and probably my favorite thing that we did, or definitely one of them, was we went scuba diving and learned to scuba dive in Hawaii, in Maui. And
No better place.
yeah, and I had snorkeled before and I've snorkeled since, but this wasn't snorkeling. This was like legit scuba diving, which anybody that knows about diving, it's like you have to be certified, you have to go through classes, you have to get your certificate before you can scuba dive. But not where we went. Aubrey, who I was with on this trip, found some person online that was offering scuba diving tours. And so we go to they tell us to meet at this place called Turtle Town, which is a popular diving and surfing spot in Maui. And it's more of a local spot. I think they took us to like a more local spot. I mean, I'm sure some people go there that are visiting, but it seemed like it was mostly locals. Like we showed up and it's this little cove with the ocean and there's families there having picnics that you can tell are locals and people showing up with surfboards and stuff and other divers. It seemed more local, like a local spot. And but it's called Turtle Town because it's known for its high like concentration of sea turtles that reside there. So, excuse me. It's a great place to go diving to swim and dive with these giant sea turtles. Plus all the other, the fish and the coral reefs and all that stuff they have there. So we show up this place called Turtle Town and we're kind of like waiting, and these guys show up in a beat up old Toyota truck, like an old Toyota truck. And there was these two guys that show up, these two hippie guys that you can tell are just like surfer Hawaii guys, long hair, just like hippie dudes. And they show up and they have the tanks and all the scuba equipment in the back of their truck, this old beat up Toyota. And they pull up and they're just like, "Hey, how's it going?" And they're like, "All right, you guys are going to get like a 10-minute class."
10 minutes?
So they literally had like one of those big sheets, like a board.
Yeah.
And our 10-minute training before we go scuba diving was essentially like, this is how you don't die. And they went over a few things,
Yeah.
and then we were getting suited up to go scuba diving for the first time. So I've shared the photos of me scuba diving and people have asked me like, "Oh, when did you get your PADI certification?" And I was like, "I didn't." And they're like, "How'd you go scuba diving?" I was like, "I know some guys. I know some hippie guys in Maui." And so yeah, that was their business model. They
See,
just yeah.
that's interesting because when I was in high school, I had a friend who her and her mom were getting their certification, so they were going to classes, like, for weeks to
Mhm,
go, like, you practice, you do different dives in different areas and stuff like
mhm,
that, but they had, like, one session where they said, "Bring a friend because 'cause they're trying to get people to, like, sign up for classes. So me and my dad went, and it was kinda the same thing, like, we got, like, a spiel, like,
mhm.
"This is what you do and don't do when you're underwater," and then we put tanks on and, went into this, like, Olympic-sized pool, and we dove in the pool, but that was pretty much it, like, is it because I wonder if it's because you were at, like, a certain depth and it's, like, you don't.
No, I think regardless, you have to like go through training. It's just a safety thing, and a lot of places that you get your PADI certification, they'll take you into like a pool first. You learn to like clear your mask and do all the things that you're supposed to learn how to do, how to, you know, lower yourself, come up safely. All those things you typically will learn in like a pool before you go out into the open ocean.
Yeah.
Something that doesn't have currents and things like that. A more controlled environment, I think, is what they try to like teach you under. This was just like hey, here's a 10-minute class, here's the different terms that we use. And they taught us, but they were going to be with us too. And these guys were like, they were pretty legit, and they taught us like, if you're okay, do this. If you're not, do this. All the hand things that everybody kind of knows. but yeah, and then we just kind of got suited up and headed out. And so we weren't on a boat or anything. We started on the shore and we walked ourselves into the ocean and gradually got deeper and deeper until we were kind of floating out there. And then one thing I will say about scuba diving is like the first time you ever do it, it is very weird
Mhm.
because instinctually, everything in your, at least for me, everything in my body tells me not to breathe underwater. I mean, it's
Mhm.
instinctual that when you go underwater, you hold your breath. And even though I know that this device I have in my mouth is going to give me oxygen, it's like to take a breath underwater went against everything in my DNA. It was hard for me to do.
Yeah.
So when we first got under the water, I was like holding my breath and I wasn't breathing and the guy could tell. And I remember he swam up to me and he's like, I wasn't freaking out, but I was like, I didn't really know like what to do. And he like swam up to me and he looked me in the eyes and he was like going like this, like, look at me. And he's like telling me to breathe.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I can't, like, I don't, it's not, my body's not allowing me to breathe.
He's like, there's no bubbles coming from this guy. I can tell you're not breathing."
Yeah. So that it takes a bit of getting used to. And I think that's why you do like training, actual training first, is because as people, it's like we're not used to breathing underwater, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah, even, like, it's like you said, it's instinctual, like, babies
Mhm.
will not breathe underwater, they just know that.
Yeah, they instinctually hold their breath. But again, like I know that this device I have in my mouth is going to allow me to breathe. It's like to take a breath underwater. It's just like my body wouldn't allow me to do it. And so he worked with me a bit and everything and got me kind of comfortable and I was able to do it. Matt, on the other hand, he had a hard time. He couldn't do it either. So what Matt ended up doing was they didn't lower him. He ended up staying on the surface of the water and just basically snorkeling, like so that he could pick his head up and everything. And he stayed up here and was like looking down on us while we were down. And we were probably a good 30 feet below below the water surface.
Mm.
And so we were down on the bottom. So we didn't go super far out into the ocean, but we were out, out in the ocean. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. Like I said, at first it was kind of nerve wracking for everybody, but once we kind of got the hang of it, I remember thinking like, dude, I want to scuba dive. Like I want to
Yeah.
get certified and I want to actually scuba dive. Like it was awesome. It was one of the coolest things I've ever did to this day, you
Yeah.
know? And scuba diving in Hawaii, because I mean, there's places around here we could go and like get certified and everything, but your first dive's probably going to be in like Lake Murray or something.
Yeah.
Uh, but to say that the first time I ever scuba dived was in Hawaii, it was like kind of cool.
Yeah.
And so,
It's gonna be hard to top.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So we're down there and we're just kind of swimming around and looking at all the beautiful coral and all the colorful fish and there's sea turtles everywhere. And they're like the funny thing about the sea turtles is like they don't care that you're there at all. Like you're in their home. And so they'll be swimming towards you and like you have to move out of the way. They're not going to
Yeah.
move out of the way for you. It's like most wild animals will like do everything to avoid you that they can. But if this turtle's swimming in your path, like they're not going to move. Like we had to move out of their way. And so it was really cool. I mean, I literally had like turtles swimming right by my face, just swimming by me, just like don't care at all, you
Yeah.
know. And I swear at one point, dude, I imagined this, but one of the turtles swam by and just looked back at me and just like rolled its eyes, like fucking tourist. So
It's
we're
like, "What, you can't even breathe underwater?"
yeah. So we're down below and we're swimming kind of towards the bottom, the sandy ground, and we're kind of going through, and Matt's up top, and every now and then like we're looking up to like see him. And a few times one of the guys would like go up and kind of check on him and make sure he's doing all right. But he's just kind of floating on the top. And
Mhm.
eventually we get to this opening of a cave. And um I thought like, "Oh, this is cool. It's just a cave in the ocean." I didn't think anything of it. I didn't think that we were going to go in the cave. So that's a whole nother thing. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
cave diving is, like, dangerous.
Yeah. And so, but our instructor, our guide who's in front of us, he goes inside the cave and we all kind of stop at the mouth of the cave and we're like kind of just floating there like, and he turns around and he like motions for us to come on. And I was like, okay. And so I like start swimming and I look back at my sister and my other friend that was there, and they both look and they're just like,
Like, I'm not going.
yeah. And so we went into this cave. We didn't like go super far into the cave. It wasn't like cave diving per se, but we went into the cave and like I have a photo of me like going into the cave. Again, for this trip, I was doing shaka bra the whole time. Like
Mhm.
again, I didn't know what to do with my hands, so every time they took a picture of me scuba diving, I was just doing this. But so he took me into the cave and we kind of swam around a bit and then we came back out and everything. And yeah, and so we probably scuba dived for a few hours, and got to see really cool wildlife, got to see all kinds of ocean life, swim with turtles, go into a cave. It was awesome. It was one of the coolest things I've ever done. And the exhilaration you feel when you get out of that water, because again, we had to come up to the surface and then swim back towards shore, and as
Yeah.
you're coming up on the shore, you got the flippers and everything on. It's kind of hard. Everything you're wearing is really heavy, but it's like, so we were all exhausted, but it was like the exhilaration and just excitement you feel of what you just did was like,
Yeah.
you can't put a price on that?
Yeah, that's an experience you had to work for.
Yeah. So it was really amazing. And that was definitely one of the highlights of the trip for sure. So,
Yeah, sounds like it.
and I wish I could remember the guys' names or what their like quote unquote business was called, but it was literally just like two hippie dudes who ran their scuba business out of the back of their truck, you know. This wasn't like a legit company or anything. It was just a couple of dudes, but yeah, I mean they gave us an experience that was like unforgettable. Shout out those guys.
Wherever you are.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, so kind of going back to Kihei. So this was a funny story that I've told before, but my friend that I was there with, they really liked poke. And I'm a very cultural person. I like a lot of different types of foods,
Mhm.
and even like Hawaiian, I like a lot of the different Hawaiian foods that we had there, like traditional Hawaiian foods. Also, like I love Hawaiian barbecue. It's one of my favorite foods. And it's kind of hard to find in the States, a lot of like good Hawaiian barbecue. But I never liked poke. And I used to always like mess with my friend and say that like poke was trash. And they're like, no, it's good, it's good. And I'm like, no, it's not. Like I don't, it's trash. But one of the one of the homeless guys that we had noticed just like kind of hanging out around town and like longboarding around and stuff, there was this one particular homeless guy we would see every day. Like every day we'd go down to get coffee or we'd be around town, we'd see this one particular homeless guy. And he was an older white guy, gray beard, typically what you would expect, dirty, homeless guy. And we'd see him sometimes sleeping, sometimes he'd be walking around, but we'd see him all the time. And so he kind of became like a fixture of the town we were staying in. Um, we'd see him digging out of trash cans for food. Like he'd literally be like pulling out old wrappers and stuff and like trying to find food in trash cans. And I remember the one day we were leaving a poke place and we had like leftovers, like leftover poke. And my friend was like, should we ask that homeless guy like if he wants these leftovers?
Mhm.
And I was like, yeah, I think that would be really nice. Like, let's do that. Let's do the virtuous thing,
Yeah.
make us feel good, right? To do this nice thing for somebody. And so my friend walks up to the homeless guy and he's like literally in the middle of digging through the trash for food. Like, this guy's starving. And my friend's like, excuse me, sir, would you like the rest of my food? And he looked down at the container and my friend opened it up and he looked at it and saw it was poke. And he was like, no, no, thank you. I'm good. And I just thought that was such a hilarious story.
Yeah.
Um, because we walked away from that situation and I was like, I fucking told you, dude, poke's trash. Even the starving homeless guy didn't want it?
Well, what if he's got like a food allergy or something to something that was in there?
I don't know. I just thought that was like so funny that even a homeless guy digging through the trash for food is like, I don't want poke. So I never let them live it down. But that was just kind of a funny story.
Yeah, I wonder, you know, because I've heard similar, you know, stories where people are like, I want to be nice and give food to this, homeless person, and it doesn't work out how they thought it was going to. Either, they're either not thankful or they don't want it, and it's like you just can't put your mind around it. But I think that, there's also you gotta think from their perspective. They're like, what is this person's motivation
Hmm.
for giving me this food? I think some people put things in.
Well, so many people film it now and like do it for views, which my feeling on that is kind of like yeah, it's kinda shitty to do it just for social media or to show that you're a good person, but you're still doing it. The homeless person doesn't care, they have food, you just gave them food. So it's not like like people talk about Mr. Beast. A lot of people trash Mr. Beast because he does all these, like, great things for people, but he does it for views, and he puts it on his channel, and people are like, "Oh, he's only doing it for views and for clout." But it's like, yeah, but he's still doing it. The people
Mhm.
who were blind that he gave eyesight to, like, they don't care. Like, he still did a nice thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, intention's important, but at the end of the day, it's still helping somebody regardless. So I kind of feel that way about it. I mean, I didn't take photos of like us trying to give this guy food or anything, but I'm telling the story just mostly because it's like a funny story,
Yeah, yeah.
where like my point was proven about this food. I had a homeless guy one time. I was walking into a drugstore and I had a guy stop me out front as I was going in and ask me, like, "Hey man, like, can you buy me some food?" And I was like, "Sure, whatever." So we went inside and I was like, I felt like a parent. Like this guy was like a 50-some-year-old guy, like, older guy. But I was like, he's like, "Okay, what can I get?" And I was like, "Just go pick some stuff out." I felt like,
Well, okay, what's my budget?
yeah, I was like, "Just
Well,
go
that
get."
was a nice.
Yeah, and we were in a drugstore, so there was nothing like he wasn't gonna get caviar or anything. So I was like, "Just go get whatever, I don't care." And so he went, he got a few things of like, whatever, like things he could eat, I guess. And we go up to the counter. So he's like with me the whole time. He didn't like have me just go in and get him whatever. Like I let him pick it out.
Mhm.
And we're standing in line, dude. And I swear to God, I felt like I was a parent and he was my kid because this is how it was when I was a kid, where like I'd be at the grocery store with my mom and we'd be in line and I'd be like, "Can I get some candy?"
Yeah.
Because we're like standing there and this grown ass man looks at me and he's like, "Can I get some M&Ms?" And M's? And I was like, "All right, but don't spoil your dinner." And so I'm buying this like homeless guy fucking food and he asked me if he can get candy. I'm like, "Okay."
But you make sure you brush your teeth.
So yeah, it's some of my interactions with the homeless,
Yeah.
but yeah, getting back to my trip, yeah, it was, man, Hawaii is just, it's awesome, and anybody that's been there that's really gotten off the resorts and stuff and really experienced like the culture, it's like, it's such a deep culture,
Yeah.
and it's extremely unique too. There's nothing else really like it. Um, so yeah, a big fan of Hawaii, and I like to think that we weren't just like stupid tourists, I think I'd like to think that like we were like super respectful and for the most part and everything, and we didn't go there and like act a fool.
Yeah.
We were like cognizant of what our intentions were being there and like what we wanted to take away from it. And so I like to think we were respectful and everything.
Yeah. And also, during the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean that's the other thing, I guess, but you could tell that because of the pandemic, a lot of the locals there were happy or seemed happy that like people were coming cuz again, something like a pandemic will affect the economy of these places that rely on tourism. And whether that's a good thing or not, maybe it's kinda unfortunate that they have to rely on tourism, but they do at the end of the day, and so I know a lot of places, at least once a lot of places opened back up, they were, like, begging people to come back.
Yeah.
And, again, I'm not speaking for all Hawaiians or, obviously not all the locals feel that way, but a large portion of the local population make their living and are able to survive from people visiting, whether that's in the food service industry or in the hotel industry or, whatever it is, people that run
Tourists.
excursions
Yeah.
and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, those people want people to come, they want you to be respectful and they want you to, to like be respectful of the culture and stuff, but they want you to come. They want you to experience it and they're proud. They're proud to show you their culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Um, Another thing that we did towards the end of the trip was we went to a volcano on the island. Yeah. And it is the Haleakala volcano, which is, I believe, the largest volcano in Hawaii. I could be wrong about that, but the summit is over 10,000 feet elevation.
Mm.
So it's a
Yeah.
giant volcano.
Was it cold up there?
I'll get to that. Some people will hike the entirety of it. Like they'll actually hike up. And by the way, going up to it, if you drive up, or at least if you drive up a majority of the way, it's a national park.
Mm.
So there is like a little national park thing on top, a ranger station and everything, and there's a little gift shop and everything, but it's like it's just a mountain. It's just a mountain of a place and you drive up and it's the most switchback turns you've ever seen in your life and you've ever driven on. And like going up, I just remember because of the elevation at that time, that's probably some of the highest elevation I had ever been on. And just from the driving around all the fucking turns and the windy road going up, it's like we were all so nauseous
Oh,
going up there.
yeah.
And I remember seeing people at the bottom hiking, like towards the bottom that were hiking, like with giant packs and everything and hiking poles. And they were standing on the side of the road trying to thumb their way the rest of the way up because they were like, I made a mistake. Like, fuck this,
Yeah.
dude. Like, we saw hikers like on the side of the road trying to catch rides, you know?
Yeah.
We didn't have room, but we did hike some of it. We stopped and hiked up the rest of the way to the top, but it takes forever to get up there too. And we went up, some people will go up, I think, super early to catch the sunrise or super late to catch the sunset. We went up early, but the sun was already up by the time we got to the top. I think we kind of miscalculated how long it actually takes to get up there. Because I mean, it's only 10,000 feet elevation, but because of how windy the road is, it takes forever to get up there. And then if you hike the rest of the way, it obviously takes a long time too. So we got to the top and it was just the wind and the cold was bitter. It was
Mhm.
like bitter, cold, and the highest winds you could imagine at
Mm.
the top of this place. And we had jackets on
Yeah.
because Aubrey and Matt had been there before, so they kind of warned everybody like, "No, you want to wear a jacket."
Yeah.
And so, but even with a jacket on, I was cold.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget how much, like, the elevation changes the weather. I mean, we made that mistake in the Grand Canyon when we just talked about that on our Arizona episode, going from Phoenix up to the Grand Canyon is like a 20 to 40-degree difference.
Yeah,
So I'm standing at the Grand Canyon in my shorts. That's actually I got this sweatshirt there because I was like, "It's so cold," and I
yeah,
didn't bring my sweatshirt.
yeah,
So,
yeah. It's one of those things that you learn, as you're traveling. It's one of those things that you realize in the midst of it, but that's a part of traveling, right? Is
yeah.
it's unpredictable at times, and that's kind of where the fun comes in. But um, yeah. So Haleakala is like highly regarded by the local population as like it's a spiritual place. And so that word actually means house of the sun.
Mm,
And so like the locals actually like worship this volcano.
mm,
Kind of like Arenal in La Fortuna. It's just a staple of that place. And so it's like a real like spiritual thing to go there and go up to the top. And when you're up there, you're so high up that the clouds are actually below you and you can see planes flying below you.
wow.
Like you're looking down on planes flying.
That's so
Because
cool.
the planes will fly through the mountains, like through the like mountainous area of Maui.
Yeah.
And so you're on the top of this volcano and you're looking down on planes below you flying
Uh,
through the clouds.
that is cool.
Yeah. So yeah, that was awesome. To say that, we at least hiked part way up a volcano in Maui.
Yeah,
And yeah,
that is really cool. Was it active?
I think it's considered a dormant volcano.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, cuz I think Arenal is considered an active volcano, isn't it?
I think so.
I think it is, yeah. And we've done both, So I really like volcanoes. I think it's a really cool thing
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah, because R and all, you couldn't actually hike on the volcano. You can only hike to viewpoints where you can see it.
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you hike the base of it. I mean, we hiked up the lava fields going up to it. You don't hike to the top of it, but we were we were at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that was another one of those along with scuba diving, I think hiking that volcano and going up to the top of that volcano was another one of the high points of the trip.
Mhm.
Um towards the end of our journey in Maui, we took a trip to the town of Lahaina, which I think a lot of people probably know recently from a few years ago there was really bad fires that burnt down the entire town.
Mhm.
I say the entire town. It burnt down a large portion of the town of Lahaina. And so that was, from being there and meeting locals and the people there, that was I don't want to say it affected me because obviously it didn't affect me, but it was sad to know, because I know that town and I've spent time there, so it was
And
that
the
it meant a lot. That place means a lot to me.
yeah, and the fires happen after, right?
Yeah, they
Yeah,
happen
yeah.
after. I think they happened in 2023. It's just a few years ago. But going to Lahaina, it's a really cool little surf town. It's a little beach town right on the water, and a lot of historic areas of the town are like still there. It's very, people visit and everything, but it also has a very local feel to it. And so we kind of walked around and everything, and I remember we were walking by the water's edge and looking out on the beautiful blue Hawaiian Ocean, and I just happened to see this like lush bush, and in the bush just happened to be hanging a lei, like in the bush. And so I took a photo of it. I didn't put that lei there. It was just happened to be there, and I took that photo, and we'll post that photo. It's one of my favorite photos I've ever taken, just because of the like spontaneity of it, but also the beauty of it. Of just this like lei hanging in the
Mhm.
ocean, and it was cool. There's like cool little shops in Lahaina. It's a really cool little town, and it's also known for having the United States the largest banyan tree in the United States, and I think the largest one in the continental U.S. is actually in Fort Myers, which we went to. But in the United States as a whole, the largest banyan tree is in Lahaina, and it's in like their town square, and you can walk up to it, and it's just this giant tree. It's
Mhm.
just a massive tree, and I think it takes up like a full acre.
Wow.
And so you can imagine like the root system
Yeah.
that and it's such a integral part of that town that like people go to Lahaina just to see that tree. And it's not like behind any sort of gate or fence that I can remember. It's just in the town square, and you can like walk right up to it. After the fires happened in Lahaina, that tree was one of the only things still standing that survived.
I was, like, starting to get sad. I was like, "Is it still there?"
It did get damaged. I mean, it did get
Yeah.
burned, but it's still there, and it just
Yeah.
kinda shows, like, the power of nature and how, like, even after things happen and, like, we're all gone, like, nature will still be here. Nature will outlast us.
Yeah.
Um, so, yeah, it was really cool to see that, and it was, again, one of the staples of that area, so really cool. The main reason we went to Lahaina was to learn to surf.
Mm.
I learned to surf in Hawaii, which is another kinda cool thing that I'm able to say. We booked a surfing instructor just online. And so we went to the surf shop to meet our instructor, and we're in this surf shop and we're getting suited up. We put on our wetsuits and everything. The guys that run this surf shop that are in there and everything, there's a few other like travelers in there like getting ready to learn to surf. But all the dudes that work in there are all like these super tan, like Hawaiian dudes. Like super tan, like jacked Hawaiian dudes, look like real Hawaiians. So we're thinking like, oh, one of these guys is going to take us to surf. Well, in walks this guy that's probably in his 40s, maybe. And he's like a scrawny, tall, kind of goofy looking, like hippie white dude.
Okay.
And we're like, who's this guy? Thinking he's like there to like, buy something or sign up for surf lessons. Well, this guy walks over and he's like, are you Jared? And blah, blah. And we're like, yeah. And he's like, hey, I'm your surfing instructor. My name's Jedi.
Jedi.
His name was Jedi. Just one name. He's had one name, and it was Jedi. And we're like, okay, this is our surfing instructor. And this guy was, despite being like a skinny white guy, he was like the most Hawaiian person you could imagine. Like he's from Hawaii, so
Yeah.
he's Hawaiian, and you could tell he was just like super proud of like being from Lahaina and like that town and everything.
Yeah.
He was like very ingrained in the culture, and he taught us a lot about like Hawaiian culture and everything. And he he's like, all right, let's go. And so we leave the surf shop and we don't have our surfboards. And so he takes us to this like empty lot with like broken down vehicles and like a like fence with a hole in it. And he's like, we got to get your surfboards. So we go in through this hole in the fence and we go into this like empty lot. And in the back of a van, he opens the doors of this run abandoned van. He opens the doors and he starts pulling out surfboards for us.
Hell yeah.
I don't know if this was his van or what, but maybe he lived in it. I don't know. But so we carry our boards to the water, and yeah, he kind of gives us some instructions like they do, teach you how to stand up and everything on the beach before you actually get in the water. And then yeah, we hit the ocean and started trying to learn how to surf.
That is very cool. Is it kinda like longboarding?
No,
Not at all.
that was my thinking, because I was like, I grew up skateboarding. I'm not like a professional skateboarder by any means, but I can ride a skateboard all day.
Yeah.
And longboarding later in life, I got into longboarding. I mean, I'm pretty good on a board.
Yeah.
Whether it's a longboard or a skateboard, I can even a snowboard I'm pretty good on. You know, I can carve and cut and do all the things on a board on the street. So I thought to myself like, "Oh, like surfing will come naturally to me. Like I'm pretty like I got good balance, I'm good on a board." Surfing's so different. I mean, at least that's my experience is like I couldn't even the first few times I tried, I couldn't even stand up.
Yeah.
It's so hard to do, and which makes it like when you see guys that can surf, you see professional surfers or just guys that can surf, it's like you realize how talented they are and like how hard that is to do. Because if you've ever tried to surf, it's so hard just to stand up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never tried.
They had a guy, like I guess with that company or whatever, that would stand on the beach and he had like a really large zoom lens with his camera that was taking pictures of us. So I also have pictures of me surfing. We'll post some of those too. But I also realized we all realized really quickly that like surfing is the most physically grueling thing we've ever done. Because you don't think about that, you know, you think like, "Oh, surfing, we're gonna go out and we just kinda chill in the ocean and float around," and dude, the paddling you have to do because of the current of the ocean. Because like, there's
Mhm.
a certain way, like, in surfing culture, there's a certain way you, like, stack up, and then you hit the wave, and then you have to go out and around and come back to get, like, stack up in line to, like,
Mhm.
wait your turn. And so the way like you have to it's all paddling. Like you stand up for a few seconds if you're lucky and you surf to the shore, but then you have to swim out. You can't just swim straight out into the ocean. You have to swim out and around in a big loop and
Yeah.
come back this way. And it was the craziest workout I ever like and this guy again just a scrawny like 40 some year old dude was swimming circles around us like he was just paddling straight past us like are you guys coming or what and you realize in that moment like I don't care how fit you think you are or how athletic you are dudes that surf every day are a different breed like
Yeah.
it's the best workout I've ever had and this guy was just running circles around us 'cause he does it every that's his life. He's a
Yeah.
surfer, you know, and he's a surfing instructor, so he does this every day. And I remember just having a whole new respect for people that surf, like, every day like that because it's like it's hard. It's really hard. We were so exhausted after we did a few rounds and we were, like, had to paddle our way back out to him. It was like we were so exhausted, my arms were just dead. I couldn't even paddle anymore, and I remember at one point, I was just, like, laying on my surfboard, almost like I was sleeping, but I was just laying there with my head on the board and my arms dangling in the water, and he'd be like, "What are you doing? Come on," you know? He was almost, like, military in a way. He was, like, this hippie dude, and he was, like, super, like, chill and, like, hippie bro, but he was also very, like, I don't know, like, very matter of factually, you know?
Mhm.
And I remember, like, we were paddling, and I was just we were both me and my friend were just having, like, a hard time, and I remember at one point, he's like, just take a rest, just rest." And we both just, like, put our heads down and just, like he's like, "You guys are good, just wait." Yeah, it was awesome, though, like, just getting to say that you learned to surf with a real local because he was a real local, and he was a real surfer, you know, like, he was
Yeah.
really, and he was good because he was trying to help us. And also, like, so when you hit a wave, you have to, like, paddle really fast to try to, like, catch up to the wave to, like, ride it,
Yeah.
and we were so tired, we weren't paddling fast enough, so this guy was literally paddling twice as much just to help us, to get us on the wave, so, like, I'd be paddling, and I'd, like, feel the wave start to, like, go past me, and then I'd feel him push my board to, like, get me where I needed to go, so he was, like, literally he paddled more than us, and he wasn't even, like he wasn't even breathing heavy, he was just, like,
Yeah.
you know, and, so yeah, you'd be paddling and you'd be, like, going to stand up and you'd just feel this, like, jolt forward, and that was him, like, pushing us forward so that we could actually, like, hit the wave,
Yeah.
and, after a few attempts, I was able to stand up on the board and ride it for a while, and he was, like, super encouraging, dude, and, like, and the other people there and this is the thing about surfing culture is, like, a lot of surfing culture has, like, a real negative view of it, you know, that people are very, like gatekeepers and very, you know,
Mhm.
judgy. Everybody was so supportive. Like the first time I stood up and actually was able to ride a wave for a few feet before I fell,
Yeah.
you know, him and everybody were like, "Yeah," like screaming and like,
Oh.
yeah, they were all like super stoked, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so they were really cool. And another really like interesting thing that that happened to me is I remember we were kind of all just like sitting on our boards, just chilling. And Jedi said to us, he's like, never turn your back on the ocean. That's what he said to us. And
Mhm.
this Jedi guy, he really was like a Jedi. He was like a surfing Jedi. Like he was he was wise in a weird way. He was kind of
Yeah.
goofy, but he was like wise.
Mm.
And he'd say these like kind of cryptic things. And so he said to us, never turn your back on the ocean. And I took this as like an analogy for life. You know, like never turn your back on the ocean, never turn your back on nature, like whatever. I thought it was like a something wise he was saying.
Yeah.
But a few moments later, I was sitting on my surfboard and I was looking towards the beach at the people on the beach, and I'm looking at the guy taking photos of us, and a fucking wave hit me from behind, boom, and nailed me. And
Mm.
I tumbled under the wave, and my board's flying everywhere, and I came up gasping for air, and I came up and I look at Jedi, and he looks at me and he's like, "I told you not to turn your back on the ocean." And I realized in that moment, like, no, he
He
wasn't trying to be
literally meant.
he wasn't trying to be wise or like meaningful. He literally meant don't turn your back on the ocean.
Yeah.
And so after that, I learned to like not sit with my back towards the ocean. You always sit either sideways, but you always sit so that you can see the waves. You can see the ocean behind you,
Yeah.
you know?
It reminds me of that one beach on in Iceland that we were when we were researching like Iceland.
Hmm.
It's the same thing.
Yeah.
This like those like sleeper waves or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
They're like don't turn your back on it like when you're on shore because they'll come up and grab you.
Right. Yeah. If you're surfing and you're just out there waiting for your turn or whatever, you're just chilling. Like you always either face the ocean or you face sideways so you can see out of your peripheral the
Mm.
ocean. And yeah, so what he meant was literally don't turn your back on the ocean. And I took it as like a metaphor for
Life.
some life lesson or something, but no.
He's like,
Um
did you not understand what I was saying? And you're like, I
yeah.
thought it was like deeper.
Yeah. At another point it was funny cuz again, he was just like he was a real interesting character of a person. One of the most unique people I've ever met, but there's all these boats out in the ocean and he was telling us to like I want you to swim over, go around the loop and then stop at that one. He said a specific boat, but he's like the white boat. And we're looking and we're like they're all white. Every one of them's white. Like, what do you mean? Which one? And he's like, no, not that one, that one. And we're like, they're all white. Like, what do you mean? He was just like, he was a funny dude, man. But yeah, man, I mean, scuba diving in Hawaii was like one of the coolest things I've ever done. But like surfing in Hawaii with like a real local and surfing with the locals and learning to surf in Hawaii was like, that might even top it, like just as
Yeah.
an experience itself. Yeah, it was awesome. It was one of my favorite things I've ever done, and I often think about him. I think about Jedi. I have never been able to like find him on social media or anything. I've seen a couple of like his reviews on like if you just search like Jedi Hawaii instructor in Hawaii. I think I found like a couple reviews from him, like people that took surfing lessons from him, and they're all like he's fucking awesome. Like he's just a
Yeah.
really cool guy. But yeah, I've never been able to like find him on social media or anything. But I often think about him, and since the fires and stuff, like I wonder how he's doing or what he's up to. But he was also he took surfing culture and he took like Hawaiian culture very seriously also because he was like a very chill, like very peaceful, nice, like hippie guy. But there were times where like we'd be on the beach and somebody would be doing something that wasn't like
That was like disrespectful or something.
yeah, not like overtly disrespectful, but just like it's not a custom they do there. Like they do this. They don't, you know, and I saw him like kind of accost people that like were unaware that like not like yell at them or scream at them or anything, but just be like, "Hey man, we don't do that here. Like you got to,
Like
stuff like that."
like what?
I don't know. I think somebody was somewhere on the beach doing something. I don't remember. I don't remember the specific situation, but I just remember him like correcting somebody, and he very much made it seem like I'm correcting you because I know you don't know, but like I'm from here and like we don't do that here. So he was also very like protective. It seemed like of like the Hawaiian culture and surfing culture, and he took it seriously, But yeah, that was a really cool experience, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. When I think back to my time in Hawaii, it's like scuba diving and surfing. And it's like those are the two. All the other stuff we did was amazing and like all the cool waterfalls and all the beautiful beaches and the sea turtles and all that stuff. But it's like scuba diving and surfing are two of the coolest things that, like, you can do, and doing them in Hawaii, learning to do them in Hawaii for the first time was like
Yeah. You know what's crazy to think? Is that there are probably people who have the, like, ability and opportunity when they're in Hawaii to do those things and don't.
yeah. Yeah, I think so. I think a lot of people again, that's like I mean, maybe they offer some of those kind of things, like, on, like, a resort, but, like, the scuba diving thing especially because, again, typically, if you're going through, like, a legitimate company or something, you have to be certified, you have to
Mhm.
go through classes and schooling and all that stuff. Surfing, I could see some people probably take surf lessons when they go there. I mean, we weren't the only ones doing the surf lessons, but, yeah, a lot of people still probably don't though, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah,
What a cool experience.
yeah. Uh, yeah, so I think our second to last day there before we left, we went to the, Iao Valley, which is this, like, lush area that you can go and hike to, and there's a, like, super iconic it's a 1,200-foot Iao Needle, it's called, and I actually have a photo where is it? I thought I had a photo of me with it, I don't maybe it's not on the wall, but it's just this, like, beautiful lush jungle that you can hike to, and then there's a river down below, and you can kinda hike down below and go up to the lookout where the needle is, and you can get a photo with it. It's really awesome. It's probably most well known because it's, like, that's where they filmed some of Jurassic Park.
I was gonna ask.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was, it's got a deep cultural significance, that area, uh, and a lot of locals go there, but it is, like, a popular place to go hike and kinda do, like, more outdoorsy things.
Yeah.
So, uh I definitely recommend that too, if
What
you're
was
into
it?
hiking.
What was it called again?
The, Iao Valley State Park or State
Okay.
Monument, and, yeah, it's, like, in the jungle, and you're hiking and stuff, so,
Very cool.
yeah, and I think that's most of the main stuff that we did. Again, like, we did a lot of big things like the scuba diving and the surfing, and hiking the volcano and all that kinda stuff, but other days, again, we just kinda longboarded around Kihei, and it was like those are the moments that don't sound as, like, spectacular, but are, like you have real experiences too, you know?
Yeah.
And so just going to, like, shops and, like, visiting local spots and buying things from, like that are, like, handmade, things like that, you know? We got tiki masks there. You know, a lot of people have tiki masks in their home that they probably bought at some store somewhere, but, like, the tiki mask I have up here on the wall is, like, a legit handmade tiki mask from a woman in Hawaii, you know?
Yeah. I don't think they can see it on the.
No, they can't. I also have the Kyoki nuts up there. But yeah, it was just an awesome experience.
Yeah, you were able to kinda go and do and see a lot. How long were you there?
Probably 10 days to 2 weeks, I don't know.
Yeah. Would you recommend that amount of time or.
If you're gonna do just Maui, yeah, I think that's a good amount of time. I think you could see and do a lot in Maui. If you were gonna kinda island hop and go to different islands, you might want more time, you know? But yeah, I would definitely try to stay somewhere like a smaller area, get off the resorts. I like Kihei. It's big enough that there's stuff to do, but it's not crazy, you know? And it has kind of a local feel to it, even though there is other tourists there. I would definitely suggest going to Lahaina. I'd suggest visiting Turtle Town. I'd suggest doing the road to Hana, even though it is kind of a treacherous road and is something that a lot of people do there. It's for good reason. You get to see a lot of the island and you get to see some really cool sights and scenery.
Yeah. That
So,
sounds awesome.
yeah.
Man, Big Resort probably hates to see our podcast uploading because we're not resort people, so we pretty much always advocate, like, don't stay on resorts. Not
Yeah.
for, you know, nothing against you if you like staying on resorts or whatever. We're just, this is an adventure travel podcast, so we like to go,
Right.
the the path less traveled,
Right.
I guess.
Yeah. And just to kind of immerse yourself more in the culture. You don't get that on a resort. I mean, if you go to Mexico and you sit on a resort in Cancun, it's like you're not experiencing Mexican culture. Same thing with Hawaii. I mean, yeah, it's resorts are beautiful and they're very luxurious and nice, but you know, you're not surfing with locals in a small town. You're not, you know, buying banana bread homemade from a Hawaiian woman who lives in a shack on the side of the road.
Yeah. Well said.
You know, you're not jumping into like natural waterfalls I know some resorts do like offer excursions and stuff like that, but it's just not the same.
Yeah.
You know, you really got to get out and like get out into the thick of it.
Yeah.
That's my ethos for travel, you know?
Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. So that's my trip to Hawaii, everybody,
All right.
during the pandemic.
Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing. A lot of great stuff in there. A lot of great experiences and ideas. Definitely makes me want to go to
Yeah,
Hawaii. I know you've been there, but I want to go too.
we'll go.
All right, everybody. Well, that's it for this week. Thank you so much for listening. Let us know if you enjoyed this episode. If you've been to Hawaii, Maui, or any other islands, any things that you'd recommend, we'd love to hear from you. You can find us on social media, Instagram at Temporary Locals. Podcast is part of our handle. We are also on Spotify, YouTube, and Apple Podcasts. You can find Jared on Instagram at Rover_Stover and at Rover Stover on YouTube. And I am on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, and Facebook at Mego Goes Global. So with that,
I'm Jared.
and I'm Megan. Thanks for exploring with us.
And remember to be a local anywhere you go.
Bye.
Bye, shaka bruh.